All right, well, as we're figuring out the lights, kind of pipe down, thank you all for coming. And first and foremost, I want to say thank you so much to Boulder Startup Week for having us. All the volunteers that put this on, it wouldn't be possible without them. And Boulder Public Library for offering us this space. In a past life was an engineer. It was very stable, and coming and being a business owner is frankly terrifying and a little isolating. And so to have community and opportunities to network and be educated is a real blessing that we have here. So thank you all for being here. We are super excited to present what we know and share value with you about wealth strategies. So I am Erin Clifford.
And I'm Max Clifford. We're married and we're business partners.
Not siblings.
So I have to ask how long have you been married?
Well, we have separate bedrooms, actually separate offices, literally.
All right, here are disclosures. Thank you. All right, so today what we are going to do is we're going to do a workshop. First, we're going to start off by giving you a tax strategy we're fairly confident you've not heard of and you're not implementing, so that you can walk away today and immediately implement something and save money on taxes. You're welcome. We're going to do the workshop, and then we're going to talk about how to implement that. We have one of our amazing partners here with us. She's going to come up and talk about some stories of the companies that we invest with. And then if we have time at the end, we'll do a Q&A. So Max and I own Truly Aligned. It's a wealth management firm where we work with highly ambitious professionals and business owners, helping them to align their wealth life with their financial life. We do things a little bit different than traditional wealth management firms. They mostly focus on investments. So we provide advice around investment management, risk management, estate planning, tax planning, real estate, stock options, and business planning. And we create comprehensive financial plans. So if you were our client, you would receive a step-by-step plan of action detailing exactly what you need to do in all areas of your financial life so that you have the highest probability of achieving the goals that you've set for yourself. So now, Max, why don't you take it away and tell them about the Augusta rule.
So we're going to talk about the Augusta rule. This is my favorite tax strategy. So in Augusta, Georgia, where the Masters are held each year, they petitioned Congress to state they wanted to rent out their houses during the week of the Masters tax-free. So Congress came up with a law, and they stated you can rent out your home 14 days out of the year tax-free. How is this applicable to business owners? So we have a team, and for our employees, we meet the first Monday of each month at our house. And during that time period, our business pays our personal, in which the business gets a tax deduction, goes to our personal account tax-free for what the boarder or conference room will cost for our team. So you have to choose a reasonable market rate. We live in Lafayette. We charge $400 to the business. The business then gets to deduct that in the taxes, and then we also get to get that income tax-free. This is separate than your home office deduction. And it is also referred to in the tax code section 288. What am I missing, Erin?
We have a sample lease. If the IRS audits you, they want to see documentation of the rental and what was talked about. So you can either go on ChatGPT, you have our contact information, you can reach out to us to get a lease. Just make sure that you have the documentation to prove that you did the things that the IRS would want you to do.
So we're happy to send over that contract for a question.
Does this impact the basis on when you sell the property that's more than $250,000 or $500,000? That doesn't. So it's not like a home. It's not like a home house.
Correct. So the other thing about this is that if you're not a business owner and you plan to rent out your house on Airbnb or other sites, you still have the ability to do that. So it's a really helpful tool to utilize. Another part, just for a disclosure, this is not tax advice specifically for you, so please contact your tax professional to ensure this strategy makes sense. We've done it now for like 10 years to get perspective. It's been phenomenal, and we've grown our business, and it's going to be helpful. And does anybody have questions as far as that tax strategy before we go to the next section?
Well, before we go to the next section, I'll start with the stories. So we're going to use different names, right? But we have a couple clients, Mike and Sam, and they're business owners. They've been in business for about 15 years with each other. They're married. It's an online service-based business. They came to us last year and they said, we really want to retire. We want to get out of this. We want to live our best life and travel and sell this asset that we've been building for the last 15 years. Now, they put most of everything back into the business. most of their net worth was tied up in their business. And so they have to sell their business to be able to live this best life that they want to live. We did the analysis, we gave them that financial plan, and the numbers came back and said, you must sell your business for $6 million so that you can live the rest of your life the way that you want to. Now, last December, they got a business valuation done as they're going to sell, and their business came back worth about $3.2 million. So we don't want that to happen to you. And we wish that they would have come talk to us many years prior to that so we could give them different strategies, come up with different solutions, and really get these numbers ahead of time. And that's really what our presentation is about today, is to help you not run into a similar situation as Mike and Sam did.
So on the screen right now, this is from the Exit Planning Institute. I'm what's called a Certified Exit Planning Advisor. So it's a designation that I got through them, and it helps business owners sell. I'm also a licensed financial advisor as well. And what their research finds is that the average business owner, this says 65-year-old, but whether you're 50 years old, 40 years old, pretty consistent across the board, the majority of your net worth is in the business. So 80% on average of a 65-year-old business owner, their net worth is in the business. And for our clients, Mike and Sam, it was a higher percentage of that. It's really common to be an entrepreneur and put everything back without thinking about diversifying outside of the business. Now, if we contrast that to the average 65-year-old that worked for a company, the majority of their net worth is in their 401k stocks. It's more diversified. So one of the things that's just so crucial to think about is as you're growing this business, a lot of people prefer to profit first system to do something along those lines, to start taking some of your net worth and investing it outside of the business, whether that's a 401k, whether that's an investment account. The most crucial part is to get that system in place and start diversifying. The other huge part, going back to the clients, is they thought their business was worth way more than it was. And the vast majority of business owners feel that way. And we've seen this several times happen when people go to sell their business. They have a number that's substantially higher than what the market's willing to pay them. So it's really crucial that you're aware of those different factors and create a plan in place. So we're going to keep building on that. We're going to talk about the wealth gap. So if we go back to our clients as an example, what the math shows is in order for them to have financial independence, never have to work again, they need to sell their business for roughly $7 million. This scenario is a little bit different, so we're just showing that they would need to sell the business for $10 million. In reality, the business is only worth $2 million, so there's that wealth gap of $8 million. We can change that wealth gap by increasing the value of the business, or diversifying, investing outside the business, or delaying our financial goals. So the crucial part is to understand is what are we trying to back solve for? All of the stuff that we're talking about is awareness. The more awareness you have of where you're trying to go, the more likely you're going to accomplish it. So going to the next part as far as the awareness is talking about valuations. So for businesses, they're typically smaller businesses, they're valued in one of two ways. They're valued based off your total revenue. That's times a multiplier. That multiplier is based on the market, and there's also intangible values behind that multiplier that we'll talk about. And then that equals the valuation of your business, and then potentially what you can sell it for. The other component is EBITDA, same calculations, and give you as far as what the valuation of the business is for. So the challenges from our experience is that the vast majority of people that we meet and are self-employed, they focus on increasing the EBITDA and the revenue. And they never think about that the multiplier is actually going to enable them to sell for substantially more. And the more you can focus on that multiplier, which we'll talk to you in a moment, the better the case. So going back to Mike and Sam, they were focused on recurring revenue for their service business, and they did think about the other factors that, does somebody actually want to buy this business? Is this a sellable business? So going on to the next slide, what this breaks down is that multiple. So there is, as I said, a market rate that's baked into it. So we're in the financial service industry. Our multiple is 2.5 to 5 on average. In order to be a 5, we'll go through what that looks like. So the biggest thing that drives it are the intangibles. Human capital, also customer capital, also referred to as client capital, structural capital, also referred to system capital, social capital, also referred to cultural capital. those 4 points are going to drive so much more of your valuations. So when you're thinking about your business, we put so much back into our business instead of putting as much into 401ks. You want to make sure that you're able to harvest all of that hard work over time, that you're thinking about it in the long run. So if we play through the scenario for Mike and Sam, their entire business ran through both of them. They were a married couple that ran a business together. They had 10 employees under them, but all of the decisions ran through Mike and Sam. Everything as far as the business standpoint goes. And they didn't have a good structure and systems in place for the business. So when they started to go to the open market, buy a business broker, people started looking behind the scenes, the business became so much less attractive, even though the recurring revenue from sales was really high. The actual structure and intangible behind the businesses had so many different things that were not appealing to a buyer. So I'm going to pause there and see if there's any questions or anything like that so far.
Could you say what were some of the things in that particular thing that weren't appealing to the buyer?
So the biggest thing is that the operations ran through them. They didn't have anything delegated out to be able to make decisions in place. And then in turn, not everything, but a lot of the business was in their heads.
Right.
They didn't have standard operating procedures to do X, Y, Z's as far as the business goes. And then the last part, which is really crucial for a lot of service-based businesses, is that Mike was a salesperson in the company. He was the best salesperson. So you're now losing that component for this online service business of sales that it really then wasn't as attractive. So what we want for you to take away today so far is that we have this habit of business owners to better ourselves. That's why we're entrepreneurs, and that's really helpful to get the business going. It's crucial sooner than later to start creating systems. How do I start taking money out of the business to diversify my network and protect the downside? In addition, think about your business as a 401k. Think about this as something that hopefully you can sell for in the future and harvest all those gains. And the crucial part is to really start thinking about, well, what is the valuation of the business?
As a business owner, you have all these ideas of where you want to take your business, but it's also important to figure out what the opposite side, the buyer, would be looking for in a business, so you can start weaving that in as well. And I've talked to business owners before, and they're like, well, I don't ever want to sell my business. I want it to be in passive income. I want to just have it all the time. But then a situation happens where you get into a car accident and your family's forced to sell the business, or maybe they don't even have that option. And so really creating this asset as if it's like your 401k that you're growing so that it could be sold if you choose to sell it is really important. So it gives you that choice in the future. You could hold on to it, you could make it passive, or you could sell it, and you have that flexibility for wherever your life goes.
Dan Sullivan is like my favorite business coach for the different stuff that he does, and his whole thing is create a self-managing business. So the more you can create a self-managing business, the easier that business is to sell, and then the less you have to work, and you can choose if you want to work or not. That's really the end game, is to try to make your business a clean running machine that doesn't need your input as much unless you want your input within the business.
All right, their worksheets. If you did not get one, I have some more up here. So Ryan has that, I'll explain it. So we talked a lot about the end goal. There's a couple end goals here. I'm sure when you started your business, you weren't saying, I want to wear 10 hats all the time, work 24/7, and then have no time to go to the beach at all. That's exactly what I want for myself. Right? There was probably something driving you, whether it was time freedom, relationship freedom, money freedom, to travel and stay in 5-star resorts, to meet the wealthiest people. Whatever that goal is for you, let's come back to that. And so when you're looking at your worksheet in front of you, this is the first step to financial alignment. We want to align your business finances with your personal finances. And so you'll notice here it says goal number 1, name. We're going to focus on personal goals because your business funds your personal life. And so that earlier number that we need to sell for 8 million came because we knew what we wanted our personal life to look like. And so you can't figure out what your business is supposed to sell for unless you know what you want for yourself. So if we look at the example up here, I'm just going to explain it, and then you're going to have time to do it yourself. And then if you have questions, we can go through that as well, and it'll be helpful for everyone. So the first part is to create a name for this goal, something that gets you excited, something that resonates with you. Financial freedom is up here. A lot of people call that retirement, but that name doesn't really sound as fun as financial freedom does.
Financial independence, a few money.
But the next is to create a date, and you'll notice it says month, day, and year. This is really helpful for your brain to start back solving. If you leave it ambiguous and vague, your brain can't figure out what to do next. And so you want to create a month, day, and year just as a benchmark to head towards. You can always move it around. Similarly, we're going to have a cost. What does this cost? If we're talking about financial freedom here, how much do you want to spend per month? What does that look like? And you write down the exact number. And then this is the most important part. You want to sit with your goal and you want to go into the future having already have achieved this goal. What are 2 or 3 words to describe what you're thinking and feeling now that you're there? And so for this goal here, we have relief, confidence, and freedom. And so this anchor point is really, really helpful to come back, especially I'm a woman, into my intuition and be like, I'm making a business decision. What's going to make me feel relief, confident, and freedom? Because that's where I want to go in the future. So that's where I should be right now. And so when we think about where we want to be in the future, we can create that reality today, right now. So to give you some time, anything to add?
So the crucial part, again, focus on your personal goals. It's so easy as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, to focus on what's the next business goal. Your business, from our experience, can be so much more successful. The more you have alignment of what you want to accomplish in your personal life, it'll drive a lot more success. And other big goals that come to mind is financial independence, but I just got done with a meeting and they wanted to fully fund their kids' education. It could be purchasing a ski house. You keep purchasing a second property. Whatever is going to enable you to live a more fulfilling life, that's what's really crucial to those lofty goals. So we will give you guys some time to go through it and encourage you to actually do this exercise that will help you and we'll tie it in at the end. Okay, so does anybody want to share what they wrote for their goal? Anybody come to mind? Anybody confident?
Sure, I'll do one. Start and sell my second tech company.
Okay.
One, looking for like a 9-figure exit.
So you missed the part before you were gone.
Sure,
So
sorry.
the crucial part is, the goal then would be is what does that enable you to do? So selling a tech company gives you financial freedom, financial independence, and then starting with that and then back solving what you would need to do in order to have that will get you to your number to sell the business for.
Yeah, I feel like I have some of that from the first, I had first thing, but I want to create something different with the tech company that I had in mind right now that I'd like to be able to see come to fruition by called the next 5 years. I think it's centered about 5 years. So it's less of a it is a financial freedom goal, sure.
Do you have a personal goal?
Yeah, the personal goal is to create this piece of technology. And then have enough financial freedom, I guess, for myself and have 2 children as well. So enough to at least get them started. I don't want to like pave their way for them. I don't know if that, sorry, so I apologize if that doesn't fit into this thing.
So the part that we find helpful is that it's easy just to think about, I want to sell a business for 7 figures, is to really get more clear on what it actually needs. What we have noticed the majority of the time is that people think they need to sell the business for more than what they need to in order to live the lifestyle that they want. They put up these really big numbers like $10 million, $11 million to sell their business. And then, as we said earlier, the vast majority of businesses are not actually worth what business owners think their business is worth. So when you have clarity there, it really does help drive a lot of your stuff and give you more alignment in your values as far as what you're working for. You essentially have that awareness, you have that why. And that's what we're hoping for you to experience in this exercise today, is to write out what you're looking to do. And then for us, we keep ours on our fridge. So we have a place to see it as far as what we're trying to accomplish as far as goals, and it makes a huge difference as far as just the overall plan goes.
Fair.
Someone give us a goal. Yes. All right.
I'd like to buy my second home.
Okay. What'd you name your goal?
Second home.
You're in marketing.
All right. By when?
December
31st.
2026.
All right. And how much is it going to cost you?
1.2 million.
Okay, and what are your words to anchor it in?
Space, comfort, and relaxation, because I own a one-bedroom condo in Aspen, it's tiny. I have none of those.
So our suggestion would be, as far as the next step in that goal, what do you plan to do for the down payment?
Was I supposed to write this down?
No, this is just, we're using you as an example.
Okay. Oh, that's smart, okay.
So one of the things that could be really helpful, and this is what we did when we bought our last house, is that we use an online savings account. We use Ally, but there's a bunch out there, so American Express, Ally, Goldman Sachs by Marcus, they're all right around 4% for interest rate. Traditional banks like Wells Fargo, most business owners use Chase, like how we use it, they're basically at 0%. So what could be really helpful is to have a savings account being set up and call it second home. If you want to change the name on it, down payment, whatever it may be, and start allocating that 20% towards that goal at the highest interest rate possible while actually not taking on market risk.
Okay. I'm doing math now.
Does anyone have a financial freedom?
Yeah, I'll throw out two. Right? So the two goals are setting up a family foundation and setting up a family office.
Which one do you want to start with? Which one do you want to do?
Foundation.
Okay, so what's the name of the goal?
Set up family foundation.
Say Buckets Great Camp. What's the timeline on it?
December 31st, 35.
And then how much do you want to put into the foundation?
Minimum of 100 million.
Okay. And then what would be 2 to 3 words that would get you to
Work.
once you accomplish that?
So it's 1, 2, 3 words, 2 or 3 concepts. Paying it forward. I came from money, so that obligation. Legacy, in terms of some of the examples that was, and then creating opportunity. So those are the 3.
One of the funding strategies that you could do, if you've heard of charitable annuity remainder trust, that would be the suggestion for it. So essentially what this that I'm mentioning is that if you want to give money later in life when you sell your business for a lot of money, you can get all of that. Say if you sell your business for $5 million, you can get all of that $5 million today, and you get 100% tax deduction. At the end of your life, there's a certain percentage that you then also give to charity through the charitable remainder unit trust. It's something that most people have not heard of. It's one of the best ways to help mitigate your tax burden when you're starting a business. And the math would start making more sense if you're going to sell your business for more than $2 million once you consider the long-term capital gains would be versus just getting that tax-free income. Okay?
What was that called again?
Charitable remainder trust. So the crucial part behind all of this is that we're talking about things very intangible, which is family office, it's buying a house a year from now. And the more you can make it tangible that you turn your emotions and feelings into, we found that business owners have had more success that way. And that's the habit we encourage you to take away, while also having a visual component of this. So anything to add before?
This is my favorite analogy. If you were on an island, you have $5 million, and you had no water, no shelter, no food, you'd probably die. Unless you were Bear Grylls, which you might be worth older. But really the point is that money inherently doesn't have a purpose. And so when you have your end goal to be money, it doesn't feel very tangible. When you have an end goal to be sending my kids to college, creating a future for my family, buying horses, traveling to Asia, it becomes a lot more tangible, and you can give that money purpose and meaning, and it comes a lot faster, and it comes very much more aligned with where you're looking to go. So now what we're gonna do, some of you might have had financial freedom as your goal, and we talked about like 401ks or investment accounts. So we're in Boulder here, and living within our values and living in alignment with how we want to see the future look like is very important to a lot of people. And so when I've talked to some people, they say, I don't want to invest in BlackRock. I just don't want to be involved in that. And not many people know that there are other options out there, and there's other companies that do invest in different ways. And so we here have our partner, Amy Sanders, with Green Century Mutual Funds. And she's going to tell you about how Green Century Mutual Funds works as a shareholder. She's a shareholder advocate, and how they worked with the companies that they invested in to really advocate for the shareholders. And so this is just a different perspective on different ways that you can invest in companies that are not your own company, but still are in alignment with some of your values.
Well, thanks very much for having me. Nice to see you all here. I'm Amy Sanders, I'm the Director of Shareholder Advocacy at Green Century Capital Management. and we represent 3 different fossil fuel-free mutual funds. We were founded, actually, as one of the nation's first families of fossil fuel-free mutual funds in the U.S. back in the early 90s. And we have a 3-pronged approach to impact. Our mission, though, first, is to deliver positive environmental impact overall that benefits the planet and ultimately people. We have the first prong as applying best-in-class ESG criteria, screening out environmentally dangerous industries. We have about 650 companies in our portfolio. There's no one perfect company, right? All companies can do better on the environment, but we try to not invest in the worst ones. So fossil fuels, et cetera, for the environment. But then we invest across the board, across industries, and engage with those companies to push them to improve their policies. So that brings me to the second prong of our impact, which is shareholder advocacy, and I oversee our program on that. But we work on strictly environmental issues, so we work to push our portfolio companies to adopt better, stronger environmental policies and practices on issues like biodiversity, protecting forests, climate change, cutting plastic pollution, animal welfare, right to repair, and more. We do that. One key tool we use is the shareholder proposal. Has anybody heard of a shareholder proposal before? Okay, it's like a 500-word document. You submit it to the company and you say, hey, we think you should improve your policies and eliminate deforestation from your supply chain. Companies that often come to the table and negotiate with us and agree to concretely improve their policies in exchange for withdrawal of that shareholder proposal. So we, this year, filed 30 shareholder proposals, have withdrawn about half of them for commitments from companies to meaningfully improve their policies. So just a couple of years ago, for example, we convinced Kraft Heinz, everybody knows Kraft Heinz, to put out a global no deforestation policy that covers all their commodities from beef to soy to palm oil, timber, pulp, and paper, committing the company to be deforestation free by the end of this year, 2025. So in that way, we're actually able to work with companies. We bring some expertise to the table too, and help them understand how to improve their policies for impact for the planet. The third prong of our impact is our nonprofit ownership. So we are actually owned by a network of nonprofit organizations. And this is a pretty unique structure. I actually don't know of any other mutual funds that are structured in this way, but we were founded by a network of nonprofits in the early 90s. Some nonprofits might start a coffee shop or start some other business to help generate revenue for their work, but the organization that founded us is called the Public Interest Network. Here in Colorado, you might know COPERG or Environment Colorado. These organizations came together and pooled money to start Green Century Funds 35 years ago, and we are still fully owned by that nonprofit network, so our net profits go to supporting the environmental public health campaign work that they do, which is pretty cool. One exciting thing that they did recently was the first international plastic pellet hunt. Anybody know what a plastic pellet is? Great, I didn't either. It's also called a nurdle, not a good marketing term. But those things they make up a lot of the plastics in our everyday lives, and are often spilled during transport and manufacturing, and are really dangerous for birds, wildlife, etc. So our nonprofit owners organized a plastic pellet hunt day where they got out and counted plastic pellets in 27 countries, 6 continents, all 50 states, and ultimately helped identify where we need to focus the plastic reduction and cleanup efforts. All right, that's a little bit more about Green Century. Really briefly, I will just share a couple of specific examples of how we engage with companies through our shareholder advocacy program to bring about impact.
Add one more thing to that.
Yeah.
This is the part that's so crucial that I was aware of this as an issue for a while. The 2 largest investment funds in the nation are Vanguard and BlackRock. And that's where most of people put their assets, and they have negative policies when it comes to shareholder advocacy. They don't vote for the environment. They're going to vote for whatever's the best interest to make slightly more money for that company. And this is such crucial part that we don't think about, that like your dollars can go elsewhere instead of into the system that just is causing more stuff to keep snowballing.
Right, exactly. And so we work to help people align their values with their investments. And the shareholder advocacy piece is a really critical way that we do that. Has anybody heard of right to repair?
Yeah.
Right, so it's based, predicated on the idea that we should have the right to repair our own stuff. Novel concept, right? This applies to like consumer electronics like phones and laptops, and also though to tractors, hospital equipment. This stuff, you're gonna need it when you need it. And companies unfortunately control a lot of the manuals, resources that you need to fix that stuff, but should be widely available to everybody. How is this connected to the environment, you might ask? E-waste is one of the fastest growing waste streams in the US. About 416,000 cell phones are junked every day. It's extremely polluting to the environment, to the air, etc. So we engaged Google, Microsoft, and Apple, and ultimately got them to change their policies and allow more people to repair their own phones, for example, laptops, to make our stuff last longer so it is junked less frequently, ultimately delivering environmental impact. So that's just a brief example, and I'll pause here, but we have some great resources online that you can check out at greencentury.com. We have impact reports on all the issues that we work on, from plastics to climate to repair and more. But that investing with us through folks like Matt and Aaron are a great way to help align your values with your investments.
Okay, so for today, our call to action, if you want our help, we want to be resource groups, and you want more clarity on what your business is potentially valued for, now that impacts your overall financial plan, and if you want clarity on how to start accomplishing your financial goals, we're offering a free session for those that attended today, in which we will create a one-page financial plan telling you how to achieve your goals. So as an example, walking through the process of how do you actually purchase a house, when they're in, what are the tangible steps you need to get there, is feasible in your budget. We go through that meeting, end of that meeting, we decide you want to work together, yes or no, and we have a unique setup where a lot of the business owners we work with, we just charge a set financial planning fee that's deductible from the business. And we also have the ability to also manage assets as well, if you choose to do that service through us as well.
Right. Who wants more tax strategies?
So for individuals here, how many S corps do we have here? Any C corps? Anybody taxed as a sole prop or a single member LLC?
Wait, LLC or S corp? What's that?
Yes.
When you're in LLC, you're automatically taxed as what's called a sole prop or single member LLC. In that situation, all of the income that you pay is subject to self-employment tax, which works out to 15.3%. The advantage of being taxed as an S corp is you can choose to take some of your income as we're called a K1, also referred as a distribution, that's not subject to that self-employment tax. So it ends up being a lot more of an efficient way for your business if you're typically taxed as an S corp, if you're making more than say $40,000 from your business. So if you are just an LLC taxed that way as a sole prop, we really encourage you to look at that option because you can save a substantial amount of money on your taxes.
And the way it works, you have an LLC that's set up through an attorney, it's legal documents, limited liability. When you go to file your taxes, you can check a box that says, I want to file as an S corp. So there's a difference between the legal filing LLC and then taxes S corp.
The crucial part is to understand the ratio of W-2 that you're taking to K-1. The lower the W-2 you take from an S corp, the less you're going to pay in taxes. And the crucial part is to work with an accountant that understands your risk tolerance. So on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being aggressive as possible in your taxes, and 0 being as conservative as possible, most accountants fall close to 0. While most business owners are 7 to 8 that we meet with. So what we're trying to say is one of the biggest levers you have to pull is how to manage your tax situation, doing the Augusta rule, being more efficient if an S corp makes sense, and then looking at your ratios as far as how much you're taking in K1, so if there's owner draw distributions versus your W2. So I'm going to just leave it open for questions. We're at the last few minutes today, so if anybody has questions, feel free to ask. We're here to support.
High yield savings accounts for business. Personal is easy, hard to find for business. What do you recommend?
So Capital One has an online savings account, and the rate is just under 4% at the moment.
For business.
Correct.
And you don't recommend
Doing the
personal to get the higher rate?
Oh, I would recommend both. So I
No,
don't
but personal through your business, it's a very, very gray area. Is that very sketchy?
If someone were to sue you, it would pierce the bail, and so it would be bad.
You
Yeah.
want it separate.
Yeah.
So personal and business separate accounts, but then you can use the online savings account through Capital One to maximize the savings.
Also, Key Bank is a really good bank. If you need a loan, they do a lot better with small businesses. They'll actually talk to you instead of just putting in a paper application and then sending you through a program like a lot of the big banks do. At Key Bank, you can actually talk to people.
Buying home, individual or LLC?
What would be the purpose to do it as an LLC?
Probably rental income.
Is it going to be your primary residence? So if you purchase it as an LLC and you sell the home for any in the future, you lose the tax credit, whereas for single, you can sell your house to up to $250,000 in gains, don't pay taxes. If you're married, it's $5 million. to use that barrier doesn't, from our perspective, make sense. The second component is, yes, it's helpful for a trust to own the house, which is like title or deed. In that circumstance, it creates a barrier between you and some sort of lawsuit that might happen, or suing the trust, which is harder to then access those dollars.
Yeah. Also, if you're tearing down and rebuilding homes, then actually the trust works better to sort of not show who owns all the houses, right? So yeah, because you get subjected to development tax. I have a question on the and capital gains. Yeah. So if you're doing more than one house at a time, like 2 or 3 houses, it's better to keep it in a trust, in my experience. The S corp over C corp. I'm just curious. Do you guys have any advice on that? Because I did that.
Close. I mean, it depends on different circumstances. So,
Because we get taxed. So this is my, like, I did the S corp, and then with the C corp, I could have avoided the first $10 million. I had an 8-figure thing, right? So the first penny got taxed because of the S corp.
Five small business stocks, what you're referring to.
Yeah, the C corp, I would have avoided that first 10 million from getting taxed.
So there's what's called a qualified small business stock. The government came up with this ruling about a decade ago where they wanted to influence certain sectors in the United States. And tech is one of the main sectors that they influence. So what the ruling states is if you have a C corp, you held it for more than 5 years, and you sell that business in the future when it's less than 70 million, it's the threshold, so there, it's all tax free. So if you are knowing you're going to want to sell your business and you're a C corp, you're in those categories that qualify. Our business doesn't. Most tech businesses do. It could be a great way to also sell your business in the future for tax-free income.
So if you're planning to sell,
Yeah.
going into the C Corp and having it for at least 5 years would save you a lot on that sale.
This is a tiered thing. So under 10 million is no tax, and then as you get between like 10 and 40, a certain amount of tax, and then 40 to 70, and after 70, you don't qualify.
Thanks for the presentation. I was just wondering that for founders who are like 100% invested in the startup, would you recommend that they get paid, like pay themselves monthly from the profits they make, or they should just like go with the flow of the startup?
You're saying like the stock of your own business or like the S&P 500 or like if you work for someone?
The start of your own business.
I see. Okay. Yeah, so that's kind of what we were talking about. Most of your net worth is tied up in your business. And if you were to go sell your business for less than what it's worth, that's not going to put you in a good position because all your eggs are in one basket. It's just like if you were to go advance everything into Tesla, then you tweet something, and it falls, right? Something could happen to your business the same way that all your eggs are in that one basket. And so diversifying out of that into something like a retirement account, it can save you on taxes while also putting some more eggs in different baskets. And so keeping majority of your net worth in your business is very standard for business owners. But we wanted today to just start your consideration of like, how can I start taking some of this out and putting it elsewhere? And how can I create a business that is an asset that I can sell? And so looking in, do you have like a retirement account set up?
No. So my question is specifically about getting paid from the business. If you, for instance, if I have a startup right now, then I have like about 6 employees, then I would have to pay them every month. So I'm just asking that, do I have to pay myself for the stress that I'm putting it into the work as well, or do I just flow with the business, with the profits, and just not get paid?
I would pay yourself. So one of the systems that we will have with an Oxford community is called Profit First. We have a lot of clients that do it, and essentially it's just a way to create a system that you're paying yourself out of the business. So you have to put everything back in. From our experience, the more you can create that habit now, the more likely everything's going to work itself out. I've started 2 businesses now. For the first couple of years, I put everything back in, but as soon as I got to the threshold that I set, I started taking a bunch out. So something along those lines would be helpful, but I would 100% look at Profit First or something along those lines to start paying yourself.
Dean Sullivan is a good resource too, and it's one of those things where it's like you have really good mental health, really good relaxation, you think you could come back to your business and make it even better. And so it's just a different kind of investment. You're investing in yourself.
Guys, we'll wrap up there. We're at time. We'll stick around if you have any questions. Thank you for joining.